been less than 24 hours since Jim Harbaugh bolted to the NFL, accepting the head coaching job with the Los Angeles Chargers. Harbaugh left a lasting legacy at Michigan, but what is next for Michigan recruiting? That's what we're going to figure out in this video. I got Michigan recruiting insider Zach Libby on to break it all down. But first, Michigan fans, do me a favor, hit subscribe to the On3 Recruits channel. Going to be a heck of an offseason for Michigan fans. Get on board, hit subscribe for me, please. All right, let's bring on Zach Libby from the Wolverine. Now, Zach, less than 24 hours ago, Jim Harbaugh out as Michigan head coach. What was the initial reaction that you got from recruits?
It was mixed feelings. Almost mirrors what college football fans, especially Michigan fans, were feeling when the Jim Harbaugh saga came to a close and now he's returning to the professional leagues. Mm-hmm. When you think about it, this wasn't coming – the news didn't come as a shock. No one was, this wasn't an out of left field kind of decision made by Harbaugh. He's been interested in returning to the NFL these past 3 off seasons. First with the Minnesota Vikings, Denver Broncos, now with the Chargers, and it's actually coming to fruition now. It's obviously on the mind of anyone, especially recruiting. Like, if I sign with Michigan, would Jim Harbaugh be my head coach? I feel like you mentally prepare yourself as a signee or a target or a commit to know that if this outcome, as we've seen, that's come to reality happens, you're not taken back. That's sort of how the reactions were from all groups. They were obviously happy that Jim Harbaugh, is able to maybe fulfill his dream of winning a Super Bowl after winning a national championship. He's able to go back and achieve what he didn't achieve, a decade ago. But also, there's obviously disappointment that Jim Harbaugh will not be their head coach, especially the 27 signees in the 2024 recruiting class. They're obviously pleased to see that Harbaugh is able to do what he wanted, but also they signed with Michigan because of what Harbaugh did during his 9 years there. The culture, the winning, the everything that was found inside Schembechler Hall in Ann Arbor, that's what Harbaugh built, and they wanted to be a part of that. Now, Harbaugh isn't there, but the goal still remains, to complete the job, which is to beat Ohio State more, continue that streak, continue the streak of consecutive Big Ten titles, and not have this national championship be the only one that they win. So right now, no, I don't see any movement in terms of anyone backing out or anything like that, unless continuity from the coaching staff from last year doesn't take place this upcoming season.
Okay, and that leads me to my next question, because only a few names have been thrown out for that Michigan vacancy, but I would say by far the most popular right now that we're hearing is current offensive line coach and offensive coordinator Chiron Moore. So my question to you is, what kind of impact on recruiting would it be if Michigan selects Chiron Moore as the next head coach?
Yeah, I mean, when you're asking commits or signees or targets or their families or anyone, they kind of have the same opinion as the public. Chiron Moore proved it that he could lead this Michigan program as the acting head coach last season. Wins over Penn State and Maryland on the road, leading U of M to a huge win over Ohio State at home. He did that while being the sole play caller, offensive line coach, and, still staying active in recruiting. But, his credentials obviously has the backing of the fans, coaches, and university leaders because he's a qualified candidate and he deserves it. And I feel like that trickles down to the recruiting aspect as well. You'll never hear a bad thing about Chiron Moore on the recruiting trail. Ask anyone, and they feel like they can connect with him so well personally. And I feel like that's one of his recruiting traits that results in, let's say landing 5 offensive line targets in the 2024 recruiting class, and then ultimately winning 2 Joe Moore Awards. He is someone that can walk into any building and be one of everyone else. He doesn't carry this persona where he's better than anyone else. He has a, he's on a pedestal. He just wants the betterment of what environment he's in, and obviously that's for the betterment of Michigan. He's able to find and evaluate kids who fit that culture and mold of Michigan. You saw that by all five signees in the 2024 class committing 8 months before National Signing Day, and none of them wavering or flipping. You're seeing that in 2025 with offensive linemen specifically. I don't know how many offensive linemen in next cycle visited for the Ohio State game, but it was in the double digits. As an offensive coordinator, he's overseeing that position. He has key areas like Chicago, where Michigan has landed a commit every cycle since 2019. And quite frankly, I feel like it's all based on how he presents himself as a young, energetic coach. And you're seeing that at a college level. Guys who are less than 40 years old are getting these high-profile positions because they can relate to recruits, their families, their high school coaches. Someone that could be considered part of their family, and that's what you want. You want to have a home away from home. I feel like Chiron Moore provides that at a place like Michigan, which also provides development, off the field resources, everything that a recruit might want in order to get them to the NFL, which is the ultimate goal.
Yeah. So have you heard from QB commitment Carter Smith yet?
Yes, we got a reaction from Carter Smith. He's I feel like his reaction was the same as everyone else. You commit for his situation. He visits for the first time in early November for the Purdue game, stays an entire weekend, and then commits less than 2 weeks later, and is now the face of the 2025 recruiting class. Now that Harbaugh's gone, it doesn't really affect anything for his sake, because he knows he's in good hands with Chiron Moore as if he stays as an offensive play caller or is the head coach as well. Quarterbacks coach Kirk Campbell played such a monumental role in landing Carter Smith. If you want to talk about a guy who did everything in his power to make sure he belonged on staff after getting a promotion, and after a year on the job, Kirk Campbell has done night and day compared to his predecessor. Visiting Carter Smith at his school, connecting with his family, showing him the lineage of Michigan quarterbacks, showing him the relationship between himself and J.J. McCarthy, which ultimately led to McCarthy leaving for the draft early and winning a national title, stuff like that in terms of development. As long as Chiron Moore and Kirk Campbell on staff, I don't see any reason to have any worry about Carter Smith. Now that goes back to continuity. You want to have the coaches who were there last year still on staff in order for this to not blow up. And specifically with Carter Smith, he's a top 150 recruit. He is one of the most peer athletes at the quarterback position in the 2025 recruiting class. His ceiling is through the roof in terms of his mechanics and throwing motion and just being a pure passer. But as a runner, he has all the traits to be a really good dual threat at the college level. So as long as he has his positional coach and as long as Chiron Moore is leading the fray, I don't see any worries about Carter Smith.
All right. So we know 2024 is what it is. It's pretty much done. But right now is prime 2025 recruiting. And do you feel like Michigan is kind of missing out on capitalizing on right now across the country? We're seeing big junior day weekends. We're seeing big visit weekends all over, mainly for 2025 and 2026 recruits. So is this going to hurt Michigan in terms of capitalizing on that national championship win when it comes to recruiting?
Michigan hasn't had momentum in January on the recruiting trail, in my opinion, in these past 3 off seasons. Yeah. And I feel like that's mainly due to Jim Harbaugh and his NFL interest.
And once again, it's happening now.
Yeah, exactly. So it's, this month it's interesting because Michigan hasn't hosted any recruits yet, but however, there are 2 more weekends and Chiron Moore is the prime candidate to get in. So, the sooner the better. But, February 3rd, that's a prime weekend for Michigan to get kids on campus. Basketball games are always a big deal. Just have everyone on campus in terms of just students and everyone just seeing life in Ann Arbor. That's always big. Having
Mm-hmm.
presentations be shared by strength and conditioning coach Ben Herbert, who is just, the heart and soul of that program. Um, yeah, the highs from that national title game, it's been 2 weeks and
Right.
it feels like no momentum was earned or gotten because of everything that happened with Jim Harbaugh. I feel like this all goes back to continuity, right? Like if you bring in a guy like Chiron Moore, you elevate him. You can have a guy who can pick up the pieces rather quickly. You don't have to hit the reset button, and you can go into the dead period with the 2025 recruits and the 2026 recruits, understanding that Chiron Moore is the guy. Like
Mm-hmm.
if you play for Michigan, you're going to be played by him, and it early impressions from what we've been told by the 2025s recruits, like top targets. It feels like Chiron Moore is the unanimous pick.
Yeah.
So, you get a guy like Chiron who only wants the best for Michigan. It just goes back to everything that Harbaugh instilled. One man isn't greater than the rest. It's all about a team operating system. So, you get into spring camp practice with your head coach, your staff in place, and then you finally showcase what a guy like Chiron Moore can do on the recruiting trail starting, in March.
Yeah, and I think there's still, like you said, if a quick hire is made, there's still plenty of time to not only salvage this class. I mean, we're not even to the start of the 2025 cycle yet, truly, until the 24 one ends in February 7th, but still plenty of time. And like you said, Chiron Moore can kind of hit the ground running. There's no transition period. He's been with the program. He knows the recruiting board. So we'll see what happens. Michigan fans, let me know. What do you guys think? Who do you want as the next head coach? Who do you think would be best for recruiting? Let me know. Comment section below. Zach Libby with the Wolverine. A very busy time over on your site. You guys are killing it. Great job. If you guys want more, go to the Wolverine. You guys do a great job covering Michigan recruiting. Zach Libby, thanks for dropping by the Inside Scoop.
Thank you, Josh. Appreciate it.